My name is Michael Vanderpool. I'm with the International Relations Council, Kansas City, Missouri, and today, would you like to introduce yourself? And
Mirànda, Gabunia, head organizer of the Gimun International Model United Nations Conference of Georgia. We have a very beautiful day today. This is our third time we are organizing this conference in Georgia. First of all, this conference is American standard-based conference. As Kant Academy, the organization who organized this event, made partnership 2 years ago with IMUNA, International Model United Nations, New York. So after this partnership, we are official partners of this organization who enroll and organize for Georgian and international adults moderation like this.
Thank you.
My name is Giko Gozalishi. I'm one of the co-head organizers of Gimun in 2019. The delegates right now are on the General Assembly of the conference, which means that they are now presenting the resolutions which they were working on for 2 days at the committee sessions of the conference. During the committee sessions, they had to represent different countries, which they were handed over to by us, the organizers. They had to represent these countries and discuss different global topics and global issues, such as heritage sites and their defense when it comes to war zones, as well as different topics such as female segregation in the workplace, mental health treatment of different prisoners, etc. These topics were handed over to us by our partner organization, IMUNA, and they are basically one of the main topics that are being discussed in the world today, especially by the United Nations. And the delegates had the opportunity to discuss these topics with the American Center for the Standard of a Model UN for 2 days here in Tbilisi, Georgia, as part of Gimun Tbilisi 2019.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Want to go and why you want to get there. I wish you a very good General Assembly.
Special thanks to Dr. Sabine Marl, as it's a great honor for us to have her here. And now, it's my pleasure to invite on the floor a very important person of our Kant Academy and our youth mindset, Mr. George Targamadze, journalist, Georgian Strategic Analysis Center founder, and what's more important, Kant Academy main speaker.
I don't know many things about you, but what I know precisely well is that you don't like to listen to very long speeches. That's why I will be very short and underline 2 important reasons why I am speaking with you today. The first of all, because our country and our independent society as a new democratic society almost in the same age as you are. That's reality, despite that Georgia, one of the oldest cultural nation in the whole world, we are very young society, very young civil society, very young democracy. And we are growing as you are growing, and nothing so clearly explains situation of our society, our democracy and our transformation levels as your age, because even I look very young, thank you very much, but I became citizen of a different country when I was in your age. I took my first ID and a passport as a citizen of Soviet Union. This country does not exist. But I am partly product of Soviet-style educational system and the living system. That's why I'm always try to be very open, free in my thinking or the working or acting style, but all of my age and above my age, we all are wearing a lot of things from the Soviet past. That's why I think that the Georgians' future directly depends on your generation. That's why I'm so optimistic when I'm analyzing the political developments in our country, some very clear signs that our societies, our political systems are not so very democratic as the advanced European countries. Because I know that you are coming, and you will take all of ruling power of this country. Of course, I have to welcome all our guests in Georgia. That's a great honor to host you there. And I need to say two things for all of you, despite you are the Georgians or our guests. The first is reject all of those slogans and mottos, what you are hearing every day for advertisement, for reclam banners from everywhere. You remember those words, be what you are. No, don't be what you are. Because to be what you are and remain in the same conditions, it means to be lazy and satisfied what you are now for all your long time. So don't be what you are. Try to be better version of you. Try to take more education, more experience from your life, and to create the better countries in your states and the better world where you will live. That's just only one advice from me. I wish you very successful General Assembly, and I'm very optimistic that our future together, not just for Georgian, for all world will be better, because you will try to be better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. George, so much. And now I want to pass the word to co-head organizer, I would say, of this Gimun, Mr. Giko Gozalishi.
Thank you very much, Miranda. Good morning to all the participants of the conference. We've had 2 full days of very intense and very productive committee work. I know that we might be a bit tired, especially since it's a little bit more earlier in the morning, but nevertheless, this is the General Assembly of Gimun, and I will just like to go through the structure of how we're going to run things for the next hour and a half or so. So we will call upon each committee. 3 speakers will stand from each committee. 1 will give a 5-minute reading of the resolution. The second will then later on answer questions from the floor, from all the rest of the committees. And then the third will give a approximately 5-minute summation speech. Get set, get ready, because we are now going to see how your hard work will flourish and how the hard work that you've put into your resolutions will bear its own fruits, its own good fruits. Okay, so I would now like to call upon 3 speakers from the very first committee of the General Assembly, and that is the Commission on the Status of Women. Please give a round of applause. So first of all, I would like to call one of the delegates who are at the podium right now to give a 5-minute reading of the resolution. Give a round of applause.
Dear guests, Council, CSW, topic, addressing occupational segregation and inequality in the workplace. Sponsors are Australia, Japan, and United Kingdom. Signatories are Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Belarus, Brazil, Bahrain, China, Nigeria, Norway, and Germany. Recalling the resolution 70/1 of 25 September 2015, alarmed by the higher inequality rates across developing countries. Taking note of the narrowing gender gap among 2/3 of developing countries. further deploring the persisting gender gap in education and its effect on financial position, unemployment rates, and less awareness of basic employment rights. Bearing in mind the differences between Eastern and Western countries, further noting with concern inequality between wages of female and male. Noting with appreciation the beneficial work done by the UN and other non-governmental organizations. Noting with regret that cultural stigmas prevent young females from receiving primary education. Reaffirming the detrimental consequences of trafficking, physical, verbal, and sexual harassment at the workplace. Emphasizing the connection between proper education and elimination of occupational segregation. In order to reduce conflict between work and family duties, we encourage all UN member nations to promote the means such as, but not limited to, flexible working hours, access to daycare, and united workspace for all gender. Emphasizing on the fact that in some countries women are segregated due to having children, we encourage all UN member states to promote means such as, but not limited to, making paid maternity leave mandatory, making the statutory paid maternity leave longer, make sure workplace is safe for women after post-pregnancy period, making paternity leave and shared paternity leave available, promoting longer paternity leave, encourages the countries to make the recruitment process more equal, using the means such as but not limited to, making the language of application and hiring information gender neutral, include multiple women for shortlist for recruitment and promotions, use skill-based assessment in recruitment process, use structure interviews for recruitment and promotions, and grade the candidates using pre-specified standardized criteria. In order to reduce the gender pay gap, we encourage all UN member states to promote means, such as but not limited to, encourage salary negotiations by introducing salary ranges to the applicants, make promotion, pay, and reward process transparent, encourages all UN member states to open up workshops, startup, and community groups and properly implement already existing methods through the means, such as providing financial aid to countries in need, create task forces staffed with experts who will provide advice to the countries in need about the experience other countries have regarding the issue and help them plan out their country strategy on eliminating occupational segregation, making them available for everyone regardless of their social status in order to upskill women for managerial and leadership positions. Encourages all UN member states to raise awareness among all genders about the existing issue from the primary age through the means such as but not limited to formal education and non-formal education. Urges all UN member nations to eradicate the cases of sexual, verbal, and physical harassment by making such cases known to the public and offering the victims unbiased and transparent court sessions. Calls upon all UN member states to make all work sectors available for all genders through legislation. Further requests nations to provide women with availabilities such as but not limited to health insurance, pensions, and unemployment compensation. Encourages the developing countries to implement legislations or reinforce already existing laws to protect women and reduce gender inequality, such as, but not limited to, restricting underage marriages and restricting violence at the workplace. Recommends all UN member states to tackle the issue of underrepresentation of women through social and informational campaigns, promoting the women for the managerial positions in the fields such as but not limited to STEM, politics, and civil services. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, Delegate, for that reading of what seemed to be an excellent resolution. Now I would like for the second speaker to go over to the podium with the microphone, and we will now open the floor up for questions. So please, if you have your placards with you, raise them if you would like to ask a question to the proposing committee. Come on, be brave. So you all seem to agree with the resolution. Okay, we see a question from what seems to be a delegate of the Republic of Korea from the back. Right.
Thank you for an interesting resolution. As the speaker said, they are paying for member countries to raise awareness, and our committee is interested how are you going to do that?
Thank you for the question. As we have stated in the clause 6 of the resolution, the countries can raise awareness about the issues through non-formal or formal education. For example, non-formal education is what Kant Academy does in Georgia, and it raises awareness about different subjects. Or for example, teachers can teach their students at school about their employment rights, and this is raising awareness. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Delegate. Any other questions from the floor to the proposing committee? Okay, Delegate of the United Kingdom in the back.
Thanks for your resolution. How do your resolution help the educational segregation are being countries and discriminated
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, we didn't have those countries on the committee, so we couldn't fully hear their policies, but our resolution also says that we are recognizing that there are cultural or religious differences between Western and Eastern countries, and in order to reduce occupational segregation in those countries, we encourage them to implement programs and legislations that will help women become integrated into different working sectors and receive equal salaries. Thank you for the question.
We still have time remaining for a third possible question. Are there any questions from the floor to the Commission on the Status of Women? Okay, Franz.
You said that thank you for your resolution, first of all, and you said that one of your signatories was Saudi Arabia, right? Yes. Okay, so I have a question. Saudi Arabia, as you know, is a country where religion is standard above all, right? And according to the religion, women do not have the equal rights as men have. So did they just deny their religion just like that in this committee?
You see, in 2018, a delegation from Saudi Arabia first came to the UN, to this committee, and they expressed their wish to eliminate the occupational segregation in their country. So the delegate believes that they are willing to abide by the rules of the resolutions and what UN decides. But as we all know, the resolutions of UN are not binding, so it is up to countries to abide by those rules, and we believe that Saudi Arabia is willing to eliminate occupational segregation in their country. Thank you for the question.
Since we have gone through 3 questions and there was a bit of a time of a pause from where people hesitated to ask the question to the proposing committee, the time for the questions is up, which means that I would now like to call upon, first of all, thank the second delegate for giving a very comprehensive answer to all the questions asked on the floor. Thank you, delegate. And I would now like to call upon the final delegate from the Commission on the Status of Women to deliver a summation speech where they will summarize the processes of the committee.
Over the last 2 days and 6 committee sessions, the Commission on the Status of Women has worked actively towards creating a resolution which would offer solutions on eradicating the problem of gender segregation in the workplace. Gender equality is the state in which access to rights or opportunities is unaffected by gender, the act of treating women and men equally. This serious issue of gender-based discrimination faces every country and every society. While there is continuous growth in the number of women going to work, millions of others are still denied jobs and training or are subjected to low pay because of their gender identity. We are proud to know that through the debates about raising awareness, separated workplaces, gender pay gap, non-paid paternity or maternity leaves, harassment, the lack of education, and many more, the committee was able to conclude its work successfully and reach a resolution. The committee's sessions emphasized the importance of standing together in order to eliminate the problems facing the world and implement recommendations given by the developed nations. The working hours did not intervene any problems due to chairperson's hard work, as they closely monitored and managed committee works without any violation. The delegation would like to take the opportunity to thank them for guiding the delegates into the right direction and providing them with help. In the name of the committee, we would like to thank Kant Academy and Georgian American University for organizing and hosting GIMUN, an international model UN conference, which allowed the delegates to gain experience and to take a step in the right direction. We're proud to have taken part in one of the greatest MUN conferences in the Eastern Europe. We wish luck to all the remaining speakers and thank all of the amazing organizer team for an unforgettable conference. Thank you for your attention.
So, the delegate, I would like to, first of all, thank the Commission on the Status of Women for such a great presentation of the resolution. Once again, a round of applause. You may now go back to your seats. Thank you very much, committee. Children's Fund, UNICEF. Please, move on and step forward. Now, as per procedure, we're going to first of all call upon the first speaker to deliver a 5-minute reading of the resolution. Round of applause. A very important detail, delegate, that I forgot last time is that we will warn you on the halftime mark with 1 tap on the microphone, and on the time that your time for speaking will be up, we will warn you with 2 taps. Okay? You may now start.
Thank you. Fellow delegates, honorable chairs, distinguished members of Presidium, resolution. Committee, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Subject, solutions. Sponsors, USA, France, UK, Republic of Korea, Netherlands. Signatures, Canada, Sweden, China, Italy, Switzerland, Australia, Brazil, Bangladesh, Colombia, Sudan, Pakistan, Belarus. Topic, reintegration of children in post-conflict societies. The General Assembly, bearing in mind that the number of children in post-conflict societies are left without families, alarmed by the fact that during many armed conflicts, health facilities and health workers come under attack and children are left without health care, strongly condemns the attack on educational facilities, which is the reason of children's abandoned with no education, noting undocumented children. In post-conflict countries, there are many unregistered children who face problems because of not having any official document providing their identity. Aware of children being suffering the consequences of these brutal trends, almost 1/5 of children worldwide are now living in areas affected by armed conflicts. We are seeing more children facing unimaginable mental and physical trauma, and they are trapped on the front line without access to humanitarian aid. We can and must stop the children of today from becoming the forgotten generation of tomorrow. Calling upon every developed country to provide financial and humanitarian support, including clean water, food, medicine, and shelters. Encouraging member countries to create child protection programs. Approves creating social councils in order to raise awareness. about the situation of children in post-conflict zones, to help them reintegrate in the society and avoid stigmatizations of these children, suggesting that the government of developed countries open special facilities for children from post-conflict societies. Acknowledging the complexity of this problem, UNICEF asks every member country to ban recruiting child soldiers, demanding every member country to provide children from post-conflict zones with equal rights, recommending to form an international child protection council, which will take actions on specific cases. Noting with approval the importance of this contribution by the International Criminal Court as a tool to fight against impunity of those responsible for war crimes and crimes in opposition to Humanity Committee Against Children and as a deterrent tool for potential violators. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Delegate. 1 minute. Before you hand over the microphone, please say your name and what country you are representing at the conference.
I'm delegation of Republic of Korea, Nini Gagoshitsa.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move on to the next speaker who will continue with a question and answer session. Your name, please, Delegate, as well as the country you are representing.
I am representing the USA and I'm that of Korea.
All right, thank you very much. Wish our delegate luck. And now I open the floor up to questions. All delegates who wish to ask a question to UNICEF, please raise your placard. We have the People's Republic of China, who we will start with first. Delegate, you can maybe approach us here and I will hand over the microphone to you so that everybody can hear his question. Give a round of applause.
As the representative of a great country which supports communistic values, our delegation has a very important question. Isn't it necessary to avoid children learning the Western propaganda?
As you might have heard, the education is one of the biggest problems in our resolution, and as we have mentioned, we want every developed country, as the delegation of USA does, as Korea, as United Kingdom, and all the sponsors does. We want every member country to create some kind of international special facilities to avoid children's no education, to give them education they need, to give them the skills they need, and to give them future they need and they don't get because of some kind of wars. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Delegate, for the question and for the answer. We will now move on to, could you please point your placard to me? Okay, the Delegate of Germany, please come to the scene. All right, thank you. A round of applause to the Delegate of Germany.
Thank you for an amazing speech. As a representative of Germany, I would like to ask, how are you going to stop children from becoming child soldiers in war zones?
Thank you. While we were talking in the committee, we had some kind of big problem how we were gonna stop child soldiers, you know, the doctors and everything. They have to do some kind of jobs under the age of 18, and we discussed that all the UN representatives in each country is asked to check how well our resolution is done, because as a delegate of USA, I'm responsible to check in the USA, in Korea, and you know, so far and so forth, so we can see how our resolution works, and then we can check and, you know, change some things. And we can't really say that our resolution kind of do everything to stop that problem, but we still believe that every member country will be next to us and will try to change this problem as soon as possible. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for the question once again, Delegate of Germany. I see a placard up from the Delegate from the Republic of India. Delegate, you are recognized. You may come up to the stage. I would also like to warn you that there are 2 minutes left for the question and answer period, so you can make your question a bit quicker.
Thank you, delegates, for your amazing speech. What does UNICEF assessment process look like?
Can you repeat the question?
What does UNICEF assessment process look like?
Oh, while we were discussing, we had a lot of suggestions and questions, and we can't really do every state at the time. But while we were discussing, we made some kind of decision to ask every UN representative to choose the biggest problem of the country. So to choose the biggest some kind of state and to work on the biggest problems first and then follow the least ones. So that in the times of maybe some kind of years, our resolutions problem will be achieved so we can achieve a safe world. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, delegate. We still have time for another question. Who would like to ask to the proposing committee, the delegate of the United Kingdom?
Delegate of UK would like to ask the delegate, what do the countries who are causing the conflict think about your resolution, whether they agree with your solutions, and whether they think they should do what you are saying in the resolution?
Thank you. First of all, we had some kind of developed and underdeveloped or developing countries. For example, Pakistan and Sudan needed the help the most. And the delegation of USA has been working with Pakistan for many years and with USA to solve these problems. But only the help of USA cannot solve this problem. So then we united to create this problem, and we discussed a lot. All the developed countries, including USA, France, UK, Republic of Korea, and Netherlands, made a decision to work together to solve these problems so that Pakistan and Sudan will be under our control to achieve a better place for children in Pakistan, or to give some kind of education and some kind of possibilities to these children, because they are our next generation and they need our help. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. With that, we will now shortly conclude the question and answer period, which means that delegate of the United States, you can now go back to your seat. Thank you very much. A round of applause to a good round of questions. And I would now like to call upon the third delegate from the committee to sum up the processes that went through the committee. Delegate, before you start your speech, your name and the country you are representing.
Ninimat Galadze, delegate of Sudan.
All right, thank you very much. You may now start, delegate of Sudan.
Our committee, UNICEF, worked a lot about reintegration of children in post-conflict society. It's really challenging and important topic to discuss. It's not only about conflict, under the conflict, it's not about underdeveloped countries, it's about to the entire world, because these children is our future and we should care to them. First of all, thank you for all delegates who worked hard for this resolution, which is acceptable for everyone. We try to create resolution which is really helpful for post-conflict zones. In discussions, we try to talk about every single topic which is important for children's well-being. We discussed about food, education, clean water, health, and child protection programs. Biggest thanks for developed sponsor countries, United States of America, France, United Kingdom, Republic of Korea, Netherlands, for their compromises, recommendations, suggestions, and also for biggest thanks for their support. Also, thanks for signatures for accepting this resolution: Canada, Sweden, China, Italy, Switzerland, Australia, Brazil, Belarus. They made and accept this resolution for underdeveloped post-conflict countries like Sudan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. As a delegate of Sudan's new government, we are going to work with our international friends to provide our children's well-being in our country. The most important value for every delegate in this committee is to provide safe, health, well-being of children, and also provide their high education level and successful future. At last, thanks for Kant Academy small staff for this amazing project. Also, thanks Georgian American University and all organizers for this amazing MUN. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for that speech, delegate. Now we shall conclude with the presentation of the resolution by the United Nations Children's Fund. Another round of applause for such a well-worked resolution. Thank you. We will now move on to the next committee, which will be UNESCO. I would like to call upon 3 delegates from the committee. Alright, so we will first of all, of course, as per procedure, start with the presentation of a reading of the resolution. I would now like to call upon the delegate responsible for the reading to step up to the podium and to deliver it. Delegate, your name and the country you are representing.
Yoon Jun, and I am the delegate of Australia.
Your time starts now.
General Committee, UNESCO, UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Sponsors, Spain, Argentina, Australia, Cambodia, and New Zealand. Signatures, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Syria, Solomon Islands, and Afghanistan. Question of prevention of violent extremism caused by religious intolerance. Taking into account the 25th of November 1981 UN Declaration of the Elimination of All Forms of Intolerance and of Discrimination based on religion or belief. Taking into consideration the combating intolerance, negative stereotyping, and stigmatization of and discrimination, incitement to violence, and violence against persons based on religion or belief. Resolution adopted by the Human Rights Council. Noting the sudden spike of religious extremist attacks, approving that with the help of governments who do put in additional effort while working with their respective legal and international system and obligations are supporting the prevention of religious intolerance. Noting that under the Charter of the United Nations, all states pledge to support and actively encourage to respect and take into account the human rights and fundamental freedom despite their race, sex, language, or religion. Alarmed by the amount of incidents originated from discrimination, intolerance, and violence based on an individual belief or religion from all regions around the world. Fully aware of the need of contribution of dialogue between a variety of religious groups, which can make an improved awareness and understanding of the common values shared through religions and beliefs. Bearing in mind positive results from freedom of speech and having a respect toward freedom of seeking, spreading, and receiving information that can play a role in ongoing against religious intolerance. Strongly deploying every single act from organizations and individuals that is against or discriminates the person's own ideology and religion and could count as an invasion of personal space. Having heard that 55 out of 193 countries have imposed heightened restrictions on religions. 1. Calls for countries to add legislation that includes schools to educate the younger generations, while following the respective country's legal system about the importance of understanding and keeping an open mind to other beliefs and religions. 2. Further requests for nations to display and inform consequences and incidents of extreme violence caused by religious intolerance to the public and by ads and campaigns through electronic devices. 3. Demands to all governments to review and study all cases of violence caused by religious intolerance taking place in their respective countries to detect and identify any cause of violent acts. 4. Encourages nations to seek help if needed to the UN. A. The UN will be able to help with I. Developing a legal base to combat violence from religious intolerance. II. Having a presence of UN peacekeepers in the specific areas. 1. Raise funds for. 2. Spreading awareness of religious intolerance. 3. Victims who are affected by the intolerance. 4. Providing a better quality of education. 5. Further invites nations to revisit and pass resolutions and implement them into their policies and legislations. 6. Recommends all nations developed or developing to be involved in combat against the religious extremist violence. A. Developed countries will provide developing countries with financial help and qualified mentors. B. Developing countries will provide other developing countries with I. Restoring, preserving, and maintaining the cultural aspects of states. C. Exchange programs between schools of developed and developing countries. 7. Instructs countries to educate and make sure individuals with high power positions understand the importance of religions and beliefs, as well as past attacks that have affected their people.
Thank you very much, Senator. You may now come back to your seat. And I would now like to call upon the second delegate from the proposing committee to move on as we open the floor to questions. Delegate, your name and the country you are representing before we move on to questions, please hand down the placards.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Singletary, and I'm representing Afghanistan.
All right. Let us now open the floor up to questions. I already saw a few placards up, and we will start with the delegate from Venezuela.
What are the challenges and undermine of inclusion and equality in the education within your country?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
What are the challenges that you undermine in inclusion and equality in education within your country?
So, definitely, inclusion is one of our biggest problems, and understanding how we can sort of jumpstart this, we decided that the most sort of best way to target this is starting these projects very young, so targeting age groups 3 to 8 and continue on with their education henceforth.
Thank you very much, delegate, for the question. However, one warning, I would like to ask all the delegates to keep the questions related to the resolution specifically, so let's try and not ask general questions regarding countries of the delegates that are on the floor right now. Let us now move on to the delegate from the People's Republic of China.
Since the country which you are representing right now had and has still problems with religious extremism, isn't the country concerned with the issue that the United States of America has intervened in the war and just made all worse and caused even more instability and religious extremism? Thank you.
America's involvement in our country's war has very little to do with the religious intolerance in our war, though Afghanistan looks forward to changing the perception of Afghans and other sort of Muslims in the United States.
I do appreciate the effort, but once again, a warning. Please have the questions be related to the resolutions of the committee. Let's not ask questions that will be off topic or directly attacking the countries that are on the floor. We will now receive another question from the floor. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your placard. The delegate of the United Kingdom from the back. Yes, you are recognized. Round of applause.
If your resolution doesn't succeed if your plan doesn't work, do you have another plan or another resolution?
The beauty of our plan is that education can be changed to grow, to sort of anticipate in problems. So our goal is to try and change the perception of different countries and really trying to create a global cultural environment. So one of the examples of how UNESCO has tried to do this is the World Heritage Youth Forums that promote intercultural dialogue. And in this committee, we discussed how to take this program and try to implement them domestically.
Thank you. We still have time for another question from the floor. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your placard. Anyone? Seeing none, we will now conclude with the question and answer session for the UNESCO committee. Thank you very much, delegate. You may now come back to your seat. And I'd now like to ask the third delegate from the proposing committee to step up to the podium to deliver a summation of the processes. Delegate, your name and the country you are representing, and your time will start.
My name is Elena Kharadze, and I'm delegate of the Jordan. Dear delegates and fellow chairs, I'd like to start with a big thank you and just kind of admit how remarkable and incredible these past days have been, full of joy, full of hard work, full of motivation. As expected, committee of UNESCO was quite challenging because it included very important topics such as discrimination, combating violence, negative stereotypes, and I can proudly say that we did approach the most of it. Sharing our knowledge in the committee concluded and ended with this amazing, very successful resolution. You see, I'd like to say Dr. Benjamin Spock's very, very thought-provoking and interesting words. He said, "Man can be the most altruistic of creatures, yet he is potentially more vicious than any other. He's the only one who can be persuaded to hate millions of his kind and kill as many as he can just because of his own God and beliefs." I do believe that now that I'm closer to this problem, if I am to say what problem, what is something that is going to be cherished rather than peace, is freedom. Freedom of religious, freedom of ethnicity, freedom of culture, because what the world is suffering from is freedom of expressing ourselves and letting the world see who we truly are. So having said that, I'm grateful for my committee and the delegates for they were totally inspiring and motivated, and they did the best to write the resolution. I'm thankful and grateful for my chairs, wonderful skilled chairs who just guided us along the way, and thank you for Kant's Academy, of course, to showing us what our abilities are and what our strengths are, showing us that we are the future leaders and the future is in our hands. And I think most of you will be like, we hear it all the time, and like my parents do tell me this every day, but I feel like when you hear something like that on a daily basis, you just brush it off and you're like, okay, whatever, yes. But if you realize it for 1 second, just like think about it, you might be even frightened to understand, oh, this is how much responsibility we carry. And understand that there's no reason to be scared because we have voices that we can use to be heard. And trust me when I say it, we can change the world. And because where there is unity, there is always, always victory. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate, for that very inspiring speech. And with that, we will conclude with the presentation by the Committee of UNESCO. Another round of applause as for the presentation. I would now like to move on to the next committee. I would like to call upon 3 delegates from the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. 3 delegates. A bit faster, guys. Another round of applause. As per procedure, I will now like to call upon the delegate who is going to be doing the reading of the resolution to move on to the podium and first introduce themselves, tell us what their name and country is, and then we will start the timer.
Anuk Andinua from the delegation of the Iraq.
Okay, delegation of the Iraq. Good luck, Anuk. Take the microphone. Time starts now.
Dear General Assembly, resolution for the Committee of Commission Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, Mental Health Treatment in Prisons. Our sponsors are Federal Republic of Germany, Japan, France, United States of America. Signatories Federal Republic of Germany, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Japan, France, United States of America, Republic of Turkey, India, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Republic of Indonesia, Italian Republic, and People's Republic of China. Keeping in mind that the basic principles for the treatment in prisoners encourage the fact that all prisoners shall be treated with the respect due to their inherent dignity and value as human beings, emphasizes that there shall be no discrimination on the grounds of race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Desires the abolition of solitary confinement as a punishment or to the restriction of its use should be undertaken and encouraged. Taking into account that conditions shall be created enabling prisoners to undertake meaningful remunerated employment which will facilitate their reintegration into the country's labor market and permit them to contribute to their own financial support and to that of their families. affirming that prisoners shall have access to the health services available in the country without discrimination on the grounds of their legal situation. Aware of the position statement 56, mental health treatment in correctional facilities. We're expecting that all prisoners should be screened upon admission by trained personnel for mental health and substance abuse problems, noting with deep concern that they must have the right to be confined in a place that can provide the treatment needed, fully believing that prisoners who suffer from acute mental disorders or who are actively suicidal should be placed in or transferred to appropriate medical or mental health units or facilities and returned to general population only with medical clearance. Declaring the right to be transferred to an appropriate medical or mental health facility or unit when conditions warrant. Bearing in mind that when medications are used, they should be consistent with the treatment plan and monitored by a qualified mental health professional. Our committee worked hard to come to a resolution. Eventually, we came to a conclusion to create an international organization that provides special scholarships from Germany and the US to developing countries such as Nigeria, India, and Indonesia that will offer free courses of psychology and psychiatry. Confirms that France and Japan will fund the psychiatric institutions in countries who are in need of those. Notes that 3,000 students finishing these special courses of psychology, psychiatry either will be returned to their native country or sent to France for employment purposes. Further recommends exchange of knowledge and experience in between the member countries. Has solved the issue of overcrowding in the United States by expanding their prisons and psychiatric institutions. In conclusion, all the signatory countries think that our ideas will solve the present problem of criminal justice. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now once again open the floor up for questions. I am already seeing some placards. We will start with the delegate of Pakistan. Round of applause.
Thank you. So in many countries, for example,
and one of the points in our resolution concluded that there will be programs to help the prisoners to reintegrate to the society and get employed. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Other delegates wishing to speak? The Republic of China, right? Yeah, okay. You may now come over to the stage.
Thank you. So, my name is Nicholas Kunashvili, and I'm delegate from China. So, when people commit a crime, they go to jail. And when they get out of jail, they still commit crimes, usually. And so there is no use of sending them to the jail, because there is no change. Because they're still criminals when they get out of the jail. So do you have any kind of solutions for that?
Yes, thank you. So what you're referring to in this case is recidivism, which is when a prisoner who's released from prison is returned to prison because they recommit a crime. And the solution for this would be to train the prisoners in the prison and address their mental health issues so they can easily reintegrate to the society and have no problem with committing crimes. So you have to be trained during their stay in the prison, the first day. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Okay, nice. We are seeing some new speakers. Argentina.
Thank you for your resolution. The delegation of Argentina wants to know who is going to monitor the prisoners in the jail and how are they treated? Like, who is going to monitor this whole process?
Great. Thank you for your question. Well, the prison personnel consists of guards who take care and pay attention to the prisoners, and the medical staff which treat the prisoners and test their mental or physical health. Conditions are quite severe in several countries, which is why this resolution suggests that countries who are developed send specialists to train prison personnel, or send students from developing countries to developed countries and grant them scholarships so they're willing to return to their countries and honestly and be trustworthy staff of prisons. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will take another question from Mexico.
Thank you for your resolution. I would like to know what does your committee think about death penalties? Do you guys support it or do you not?
Thank you for your question. There were several countries which still have death penalties as punishments, and our committee does not approve of this because we believe that this does not change anything, and it's better to improve and change the mental state of the person who has committed such severe crimes. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer.
With very little time left, we will take one more question from delegate. Could you face the, okay, Bahamas, yes. Another round of applause.
So, can the inmates refuse to be treated?
Well, our committee has not discussed any cases when inmates refuse to be treated, but I think that in this case the inmates have to be treated because some inmates with mental health issues do not realize that they have some issues, and they need help to understand what the problem is, and therefore they have to be treated by the medical staff of the prison.
Time for questions is up, which means that we'll now conclude with the question and answer session for this committee. Thank you very much. And now I would like to call upon the final delegate from the proposing committee to present their summation of the processes of the committee.
Germany.
You may start.
Honorable delegates, chairs, guests, and organizers, I'm honored to be standing there and presenting my own committee. First of all, I want to start my speech by thanking Kant Academy for making this experience real to the Georgian youth. And okay, whatever. Now a bit about our committee work. As you already may know, our committee is CCPCG, which treats mentally ill prisoners. The topic was very challenging for us because even though it's a very specific topic, it had many problems in it. And however, we still managed to go through it and overcome it. We had several draft resolutions, and we had a bit of a problem choosing the final resolution that would come here to the General Assembly, but here we are already having presented the resolution. Also, the main points of our resolution was to create an international organization that would include developing and developed countries and offer funds to countries in need of those, and also offer special scholarships to countries like Indonesia and Nigeria because they have lack of professionals. Of course, none of this would happen without our amazing chairs, Nicholas and Georgi, who led our committee with dedication and explained all the rules and procedures to us while keeping the committee calm, stable, and most importantly, in motivated and friendly environment. If I were to sum up these 2 days in a word, I would say it was memorable, and I believe many of you would agree with me. Even though we had to stay in these formalities and follow all these rules, our committee still managed to have fun and became friends very easily, and I believe our hard work and dedication for seeking solutions ended successfully. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone who made this GIMUN accessible to the Georgian youth and helps us strive for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And with this, we have concluded with the presentation of the CCPCJ. So thank you very much, delegates. Now, we have gone through 4 committees of the General Assembly, which means that we will be now taking a short 15-minute break. After the break, we will go through 3 different committees. So keep your heads up, be energized, and we expect you with more questions and more debates. Thank you.
Hey friends, I'm at the Funicular restaurant. I don't know if you can see very well, but I'm going to go in. Yeah, this is... very nice restaurant. It's, as I explained on a couple of short film clips I made outside, kind of a selfie film. A lot of good memories here. I've come here with friends over the years. Anyway, that's not my topic right now. I'll upload those videos in a bit. I'm taking a break here. Funicular restaurant, which is Tetsminda in Georgian language. It's Tetsminda Park, which is holy mountain in the Georgian language. That's the meaning in English, holy mountain. And you can see a beautiful view of the Caucasus Mountains from here and the city of Tbilisi. And you'll see that in the films that I'll upload later, assuming that everything goes as planned and intended. So I'm over at the Techno Park right now, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The back of the conference meeting room, there is a concrete deck with a rail, and it's all pine trees overlooking a mountain gorge, mountain valley with pine trees, green cedars and pines. So it's a really beautiful location, and it is the United Nations model practice and training for the Georgian youth, from age 14 to 21, and practicing delegations. Hi, David. From countries around the world, they're training and practicing for that. So I've got some film clips on that and 2 short, brief introductions from the organizers and the director of the event, which has only been in process now for I think 2 or 3 years. So you'll have to get the information on the video when I publish it and directly from them. And I'll get the links up, of course, in the video and here on Facebook, I hope, later, if everything goes as planned and if all the video cameras and everything works as it should. Hopefully by the end of the day, I'll have the videos up. So I'm really impressed. I told this director and the organizer, I was very impressed with the event. The opening comments by one of the men there was pretty profound too. His background, he came out of the Soviet time, the Soviet Union, so the comments that he gave were quite impressive, quite fantastic. So I was really impressed. Thank you very much. The professionalism and what more important than that for me, it was some of the enthusiasm there amongst the organizers and the people, the staff, and some of the youth. I saw that they're really quite sincere and genuine and enthusiastic, and for me that really made quite an impression. So I'll hope to have the film up a little bit later. I'm a member of the International Relations Council, Kansas City, Missouri, IRCKC. Matthew Hughes is the executive director of those events and that organization there, and that's why I invited Georgi. After going to Christina Pushaw's presentation, her lecture on U.S.-Georgia relations over at the University of Georgia, I met Georgi there, and that's why I invited him, Gakaria is his last name, to come to Kansas City if he ever gets a chance, come over and check out our events at International Relations Council Kansas City. They'll put out a newsletter at least once a month, and there are just so many events. There are events and ambassadors. Pakistan's ambassador had come over. I believe an ambassador from Venezuela was scheduled to come. I don't know if he made it through or not, but I think maybe the German ambassador, and I know I saw Paula Dubrowski, who has been over 4 or 5 presidential administrations Undersecretary of State or at very high level in the U.S. State Department. I saw her speak on the Berkeley lectures at the International Relations Council, Kansas City, and also I had seen Ambassador Thomas Pickering speak on the Middle East and U.S. foreign policy in regards to Iran, which was very enlightening, and it was a 2-hour presentation with question and answer period after. Anyone was allowed to ask questions from the Ambassador Pickering, and also were able to come up and meet him and speak with him after. So today's event was interesting for me, and I explained this to them over there in person, that the International Relations Council Kansas City is very closely connected with the United Nations, and so I had invitations to come before to United Nations model events here, but I explained that I took interest this time in particular because not only had I had the opportunity and thankfully the permission to film Christina Pushaw over at University of Georgia on Friday and her lecture on U.S.-Georgia relations, but also that since these last couple of years, that not only in Georgia but also coming back home to Marshall, Missouri, even within the community there, within extended family or family issues and state issues and so on, the issue of human rights become very important for me. Because when you travel from one place, one country, one culture, one society to another, there's a different idea often on some points, and some there's the very same ideas. Some ideas we share, and some ideas we may not share on the value and the importance of what the United Nations is called a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And that's what was referred to today in some of the topics on that, and that's another reason why I came, is because at a personal level, the importance of human rights, especially the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And of course, I'm a big believer and strong foundation coming as an American citizen on the U.S. Constitution, and I'm a very big believer in the U.S. Constitution. But I also see an incredible value and importance for the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as framed and put forth and advocated by the United Nations. So today's training and model United Nations work that they're doing, that you'll have a chance to see some of on this film, and hopefully the closing session today is not only something that I'm sharing as a service for educational and information purposes in the film that I'll publish later, but also on a personal level. I have a personal interest in universal human rights. And that's why, for me, it's important that I shown up, and I appreciate the enthusiasm and the positivity on this event and the professionalism. I've been really impressed, and not just that, but the sincere interest and enthusiasm and genuine interest in human rights and democracy that these young Georgians in training, young Georgian professionals have shown today, and it's a pleasure to meet them, and I'll look forward to going back and finishing up one more session of filming, and then I'll get to work on publishing that and be able to share that with the worldwide via the internet. So thanks for watching.